Andreas. My name is Nikou Asgari. I am the digital markets correspondent at the Financial Times. And I'm joined by a wonderful panel today where we'll be discussing whether to tokenize assets or build digital asset rails first. I'm joined by Laurence Arnold from AXA Investment Managers, Santillan from Fireblocks, Martijn Siebrand from ABN AMRO, and Andreas Sack from DekaBank. So thank you all for joining us. Tokenization is a very hot topic, both here in this conference hall and beyond it, especially when talking to traditional financial institutions. And I'm interested in how each of you are thinking about tokenization and sort of to answer the question really, how you think about it, whether you are building your own rails, acquiring, working in partnerships, just how you think about the infrastructure in this space. Laurence.
Hi, I'm Laurence Arnold. I'm from AXA Investment Managers. We're managing around 850 billion euros, mainly for the AXA Insurance Group. We look at tokenization from a very post-trade perspective. So for financial assets only, we don't do cryptocurrencies. We work on trying to test and learn. So we will invest directly in assets. We will also build tokenized funds. But for the moment, it's very experimental, and it's a test and learn approach. So the question of building rails is very limited for the moment.
Anna, how about you?
Good morning. Thank you for being here today. So at Fireblocks, what we are trying to do is to ensure we support financial institutions on this learn, try phase. We are running a lot of pilots. We're working with a lot of tokenization partners, as well as providing our own advisory services. And we want to ensure that everybody can, in an easy and secure manner, use our infrastructure to tokenize financial or non-financial assets and try and learn fast, leveraging the provided rails.
Andreas, same question.
Nikou, thank you. My name is Andreas. I'm from DekaBank and I'm responsible for the implementation of our crypto custody solution. And therefore, tokenization is a part of the digital assets infrastructure from our point of view. But there are some parts like the custody solution, which is necessary to build it up by our own. And tokenization from up to down, from left to right, is a commodity from our point of view. And it's not necessary because you do not have an USP due to the tokenization. It's not necessary to build it by your own. It depends on the assets and the client need, which will be fulfilled. And that's not from our perspective, it's not the point of the technique of the tokenization side.
Thank you. And Martijn?
Yes, thank you. My name is Martijn Siebrand, ABN AMRO. We have done some deals so far. Recently, a green bond with Vesteda and DekaBank as investor. And we are not building the rails ourselves. We are trying to educate our colleagues that they can handle the rails, to be capable of talking with our clients about it, advising, doing education internally. And there are a lot of good service providers out there that we can use. So we did in the past with Vector and Congo build ourselves, but at this moment in time, it's for us perfect to connect to the ecosystem.
Can you just tell us in the audience a little bit more about that, about how you went from building your own to deciding that actually you didn't need to?
Yeah, I think we have a DLT team around since 2015, something like that. And around 2018, we were involved in the founding companies like the Vector and Congo, where we were programming ourselves, trying to build in a consortium. Then taking a step to around 2019-20, I think we were asked to join several consortia around tokenization, bond issuance, etc. We decided to not join them, but to try to do our own stuff. Also because ABN AMRO is quite more limited or smaller than we were in the past. So we learned our own thing, and now we can talk also with other banks, etc., about our learnings. So for us, it was key to have our own roadmap to see that we work together with our capital market practice on real deals, and not only to do it from an innovation perspective. And that really works, and set us now in a field that we can talk with our clients about it, and trying to build the it's not yet scalable, but we can serve our clients. We have solutions for it, and we are trying to extend the roles in the value chain of the security market.
And Andreas, at DekaBank, how do you think about this? I mean, a lot of tokenized issuances, they exist, but in the big, for example, tokenized bonds, they're a really small part of the bond industry. How do you think about that? And when you think about issuances to participate in, how do you navigate them?
I think every bank who has an issuance process have a good working process regarding the traditional assets. And first of all, nobody waited for digital assets, because the client is not really interested in how is it issued. Is it a digital issue or the physical issue? And from my point of view, the process chain must be developed. You must focus on the advantages in the process chain that you can point out and fulfill some benefits for the client. That you point out the advantages. For example, if he's directly invested, you reduce intermediaries, but there we have to go, and that is a time. It is a midterm part until the client will learn enough about it, because that is, if you're talking to retail clients or to institutional clients, a lot of them must slowly go on the thing. They have to go through new product processes and so on. That is a main aspect for changing their mind, for education for them. And at the moment, there are a lot of proof of concepts from my point of view, on the investor side, on the issuer sides too. But it is not the regular process at the moment, because the old world, not the old world, the traditional world is working.
Laurence, what do you make of that? I mean, you touched on the fact that a lot of this is sort of experimentation. How do you decide what to experiment in and what not to?
Well, basically, the objective is always to learn. So we did test trades, so we concretely invested in the European investment bond issued through Société Générale by the EIB, where it was on Ethereum. And basically, when you do such investments, it's really different from what we do today. So you have to change the prospectus of the fund, you have to really monitor your trading, you have to completely stop the post-trade processes, you have to do things manually. We have to send the cash manually through confirmation through our middle office and custodian. So nothing is STP, nothing is automated. We did the second trade with Goldman Sachs on their digital asset platform, private blockchain, again very different. When you have assets on private blockchains, you need to have specific custody agreements with each bank. So from our perspective as an asset manager, having several assets in our portfolios, it's not manageable. So we need to see what the next step is. The next step is to have more and more liquidity on those kind of assets, but we need to have also cash, which can be moved on blockchain. And today we cannot move cash on blockchain. You cannot do a financial settlement with a stable coin. For the moment, you cannot do a financial settlement with cryptocurrencies. So we're very limited. So basically, every time it's a bespoke transaction, it's a bespoke contract with the counterparty, and then there is the fundamental question of the custody of the fund itself. And when we basically have several tokens in a portfolio, the question of having them on the same rails is also very important. For the moment, there are not the same rails somewhere, so it's also something which we have to build. And as an asset manager, we're never by ourselves. So we're part of an ecosystem, working with banks, working with custodians, central custodians, etc., etc. So every move we make, or everything we want to do in terms of tokenization, needs to be done with our banking partners. And each bank has its own agenda, its own investments, etc. So that's a bit.
Anna, Laurence touched on the infrastructure and sort of how disparate it is at the moment. When you look at that side of things, what more needs to be done to sort of bring the banks, the asset managers, everyone into place?
I think that's the title of the conference, right? We have started tokenizing assets, but we really haven't built the rails. And I think there's two main rails that are missing, which we've touched upon. One of them is most certainly the tokenized fiat, to ensure that you can actually bring about the operational efficiencies that we are all looking forward to unlock with tokenization. Until we have in Europe the tokenized currency that can be freely used to settle these transactions, we are not going to be able to unlock any of those efficiencies. And then the other very important component is the custodian banks. Because I think when AXA is talking about the problems, one of the main problems we face is interoperability. Many of the issuing banks are going for permission blockchains in small gardens that don't have the ability to scale. And I think the direction of travel is quite clear. I think most of the people agree that we are starting with permission blockchains and we are slowly working towards tokenizing on public blockchains. But this is taking way longer than expected. And of course, regulation has to come, but it is becoming something that is stopping projects from going from pilots into small production, into really scalable projects. And so what we're doing now is working with custodian banks. In light of new regulation, we are going to have a number of European banks coming next year with custodian services, which hopefully will alleviate many of these problems that asset managers are facing.
And as a banker, or working for a bank, Andreas, what do you make of that and that need for interoperability? Where do you see yourself in that?
I think there are some good initiatives working on standards, but regarding the oldness of the digital assets ecosystem, I think it is not fair to compare it with the traditional market and the interoperability with securities, for example, because it's necessary that it must develop. It is an evolutionary process and not a revolution, because everybody, every bank, every custodian must connect it with them. And I think if Fireblocks got a crypto custody system, we got another one, and but we are combined in the asset, in the standard, on the blockchains, and this is something what may expect. If you look around on the marketplace here, you have a lot of very good startups, fintechs, and so on, and everybody wants to be the standard setter. And this is it. The market must be a little bit more smaller, or it must develop, and that's for what we have to wait. And we have a long breath. And we are resilient and agile, especially to go on the potential changes. And I think we have no month without any impact from external events. So we have to look on another asset, another token standard, on another regulation, and that is an ongoing process. From my point of view, we have to wait the next 2, 3, 4 years, and maybe then my project, especially the digital assets custody for retail and for institutional clients, will be in a grade that the automatic process, the SDP process Laurence mentioned, is working, or is more working, and the integration in the complete backend and the legacy systems. So it's not a nightmare, but it's a challenge.
Not a nightmare. Martin, from your perspective, do you agree with those challenges? Do you face similar challenges when it comes to tokenizing, deciding what to tokenize, invest in?
I think main challenge was first to convince the senior management this is a good idea to work on and spend time on. By having done that and creating some ambassadors internally, you can start to engage also with the clients who would like to work on this. We had some clients that were very keen to issue something themselves and were asking also for help. So we did also some interviews with other clients. Some just say, right, is it cheaper, is it faster? Can I get more funds than the traditional market? No, it's not. Okay, just call me within 2 or 3 years. But if you have some companies that say, right, if I can have this for now and I can start educating our colleagues, and we can have a look at cash on chain for later, or maybe some data that we add to the token from sustainability or ESG, so that we can add some angles, then it can get interesting. But they have to start. So for now, we only did issuance and custody, and there are multiple other parts in the chain as well. And to convince the other clients that we have, we need to have certain other building blocks ready there for the institutional market. If you look at more mid-corp markets, so smaller companies that would like to raise money, they can maybe have advantage of the solution already. If we have also something where we have a marketplace where we can offer the token for a secondary market.
It's interesting that you mentioned convincing management. I'm interested in what sort of questions, both internally and externally, you get when embarking on these projects, because sort of, I guess the skeptic in me is asking, like, what's the point? Is it cheaper? Is it saving you money? Is it faster? What sort of questions are you getting, and how do you answer them?
Yeah, the questions differ. So we do sessions with our executive board, supervisory board. Some say, right, who's then taking out the money that is now made in the value chain? So do we have to look on them? Other will say, right, why are we doing this? The market is quite efficient already. People can fund very cheap. So why are we spending time on this? But others with maybe more a longer vision, we can still go to the bookstore and order a book, but you can also have it directly in your Kindle as an ebook. So we need to serve both at this moment, and that's something where we can convince also, if we have our statement that we would like to be a future-proof bank. I think that still transaction plus 5 days before the settlements take place is not what most people here in the room are used to if you do something with crypto. But it's still there in traditional market, and there are multiple of those examples. But you need to do first a deal to go through all those steps in the bank to see where the advantages could be, and to convince then also the management.
Laurence, from your perspective, what sort of questions do you get internally and externally?
I would say that a few years ago they were all very excited, and they all saw the benefits, and it was great to do it. They gave the means, etc. Now it has changed a bit. I think we all have budget issues. We all have potentially also directors who are very keen on ChatGPT, for example, which takes a lot of space at the moment, and which has direct results. Where blockchain, you don't have any return on investment if you don't do cryptos. So it's very slow, and you have to keep on convincing them that they have to continue, that we need to continue to test and learn. Sometimes they even say we can just stop for 2-3 years and we'll see what happens. But at the same time, it's where we need to be very strong in what we say. For example, it was mentioned with the European Central Bank. There are all these subjects, and banks and asset managers also need to be very involved in all of that. So that's a bit it.
Andreas, I guess the same question, like, how do you navigate what's the point? Is it cheaper, faster? What does this achieve?
I think one of our advantages we mentioned was that the process will be faster and cheaper, because you can reduce potential systems in the middle. But you have the old systems fulfilled with assets, and they are not out of date in the next 2, 5, or 3 years. And therefore, you need the long breath. You have to wait, but then you have to point it out how the new digital assets world changes the system, changes the processes. And therefore, there must be a development, especially in tokenization, because you can fulfill a lot of work within smart contracts. Especially if you look into the funds, for example, and that is a development process, that is a change management process in the bank, because the departments, with a lot of people working on it right now, they have to change their mind. And they have to understand how smart contracts work, and how they are audited, and so on. And that is something I'm happy that that Deka believes that DLT has the potential to change the financial market infrastructure. And therefore, we will be prepared. We start with the license processes regarding the security register and the crypto custody, and that's the most relevant at the moment for us. And therefore, we try to we issue some products, but I think in the next year there will be some questions, for example, regarding the revenue and so on.
And Anna, for you, what sort of questions are clients asking about whether this is the right thing for them?
I think the questions are the same for everyone. Is this cheaper? Am I going to buy a bond with a higher yield because it's issued on DLT? Is it going to be faster? The reality is that at the moment it is not cheaper, and I don't think it will be in the foreseeable future. It is faster, and you do show a reduction in counterparty risk because some of the processes can be automated with the smart contracts. But I think it is an investment in the future. We are, I don't know, in the middle, towards the end of a crypto winter. So the focus has changed a lot from crypto assets into tokenization. I think it's part of a normal cycle that we've seen before. But I think the encouraging thing this time is that we see central banks, custodial banks, investment banks, large asset managers not dismantling the teams, but actually continue because they do think the segment is seeing a huge amount of innovation. If you do disconnect for 2-3 years and then try to reconnect, it's going to be extremely difficult to get the compliance teams, the risk, the operations up to speed. And so we keep innovating, we keep working on pilots, we keep working on more extensive projects now that we are having European regulation in place. And something that is positive as well, it is great to see Europe leading the way in terms of the complexity and the innovation of the projects that are being brought to market, miles ahead of the other regions globally.
It's interesting that a few of you actually have mentioned sort of future-proofing and then the question, I guess, of revenues and this sort of further down the line. Andreas, I'm interested in when you are deciding now, especially when, you know, these questions about revenues, ChatGPT, for example, perhaps taking up some more time and money, how are you now deciding sort of which assets to tokenize, which digital asset rail companies to partner with? Have those sort of conversations gotten tougher?
It's not so easy because the crystal ball says nothing, and therefore you need the clients, and you have to look for the clients and the clients' needs. And we talk with institutional clients at the moment about potential new issuances, and then it is the same process as in every company. They want to learn. Because they believe in the adoption or in the new financial market infrastructure too. And there are some milestones, yes, but that is not the scalable market. And therefore, we have very individual products in this case, and you do not have a fully automated process regarding these issuances. And then But it's for all sides, for the investors, for the issuer, for the registrars, for the custodian, and so on. It is every setup is a new setup, and everybody is working very good together, and that's I think why the issuance processes are so good in learning, because everybody in the digital assets world is very open-minded. If I compare it to the traditional world, they're not so open-minded. It's the same on the fair here. You're more open regarding another fair, for example, for traditional or asset management and so on.
You mentioned obviously the demand, because the demand needs to be there. Lawrence, what will it take, and we're slowly running out of time, so for each of you actually, what will it take for that demand to increase for tokenized assets, which will then, you know, lead to more infrastructure and more investment in the infrastructure? Will it be regulation? Is it demand from the likes of yourself at AXA? Like, what will it take to sort of push the industry forward?
I think there are many elements to answer this question. Obviously, if we can have a delivery versus payment on blockchain, that's definitely something which will trigger the processes. I think issuers also need to see the benefit of tokenizing their own asset. If, for example, a corporate wants to tokenize a bond, okay, what's in it for them as well? So there's also the question around roles and responsibilities. Today, it's not clear. Everyone says it's the other's responsibility. So currently, when we buy digital bonds, for example, it's very difficult to put a name or an institution to be responsible if something goes wrong with the blockchain. So that's part of the answer.
And Martin, for you, what will it take to push the industry forward to answer some of those questions?
Yeah, I think some of the points are made already. Maybe not the nice one, but still regulation and harmonization there is also a thing still. So the investor would like to have clarity what he's going to do, and there's a lot of education needed, not only on the side of clients, but also with the regulators, and to share knowledge, because it's all new. I think within Europe we see here different legislation around countries. We try to play a bit around with that. But if there's no harmonization on that side, it will be very hard for investors also to make decisions. So where are we going to issue from? We can do Swiss, we can do the Netherlands, Germany, France. But yeah, and also from investment perspective, those are the questions we would like to answer. And also, like I mentioned earlier, we just did issuance, we did custody, but we would like to have also the cash on chain, secondary market, and also asset servicing. We don't have to have it all in once, but we would like to extend, work with partners to grow that. And then it becomes more attractive.
Just on your point around regulation, especially in Europe with the sort of disparate nature of regulation, I suppose, how do you navigate that? How do you help the issuers decide?
Yeah, so for the trades that we have done so far, we're always in contact with our Dutch regulator. We also applied for the EU sandbox, where we will work on a deposit token or stablecoin with clients. And here, not only the Dutch regulator will have an eye on, but also the Germans. And so they can learn from each other as well. So Europe is trying to catch the fact as well. And we are a member of certain ecosystem groups to see what we can deliver together. Because ABN AMRO itself, yeah, we can do it from a technical perspective. It's not that difficult. But we don't want to have all the cash on our balance sheet. We're just reducing our balance sheet. So the stablecoin is not the best option at this moment for us, let's see.
Andreas, you mentioned the need for demand, and just coming back to that, what will it take for that demand to increase? You said that you think DLT is the underlying infrastructure of the financial markets in the future. What does the future look like? When are we going to get there?
Go ahead.
Yeah. From my point of view, the demand comes if we bring up more efficiency in the internal processes, and then the clients got a seamless integration from digital assets products into the traditional products, because it's not possible that they have a breach or something like this. And then there will be a crossfade, for example, that the traditional and the potential issuance processes will reduce, and the digital assets issuance process will rise. But there must be some the cost reductions, for example. At the moment, blockchain is a very expensive project. The projects around tokenization, the issuance part, the crypto AML, and so on. It's very expensive, and the client is not willingly to pay any cent more for the product, because now this is a fancy name, and he or she does not see anything about it. I think you need a good balance, and you need some aspects, some advantages. For example, settlement T+0. That is some advantages we had with some products at the moment. We tested, and that is working. But there you have a concrete client advantage, and then the products will rise in volume, and you get a lot of new potential clients there.
And Anna, from your perspective, that demand, that cost reduction, are you seeing that at the moment? When will it come?
I think we've touched upon it, and this is not a regulatory panel, but it really boils down to regulation. And I think a lot of the education work that we are doing is working with the financial market regulators on the different countries. I think at the moment there is a slightly different level playing ground in different countries, and we need something that is more harmonized and more easy. I think easier. You mentioned as well the clear definition of roles. The same concept can mean different things at the moment in different jurisdictions, making things very confusing. And so I do think that we need more regulation, more clarity, and more education and dialogue in between the regulated counterparties.
I think that's a great place to finish. So thank you all to my panel. Thank you all for joining us, and enjoy the rest of the day.